What happens when the person you humiliate is the only one who can save you? In the glittering world of New York's elite, where your bank account is your only value, Selena Covington was a princess. She had it all: designer clothes, $1 million trust fund, and a nasty habit of treating service staff like dirt. Her favorite target, a quiet waitress named Ariana at the city's most exclusive restaurant. What Selena didn't know was that Ariana was just a cover, and the woman she tried to destroy was about to become the only person standing between the Covington family and total financial ruin. The Crimson Scepter was not merely a restaurant, it was a fortress of exclusivity built on the Upper East Side. Its walls were a deep burgundy, the lighting was engineered to make everyone look flawless, and the reservation list was a roster of New York's most powerful. To work there, you had to be invisible, precise, and completely silent. Emmy Vance, known here only as Ariana, was an expert at all three. For the past 6 weeks, she had been Ariana, the new waitress, the one who never made mistakes, who refolded napkins with geometric precision, and who never, ever spoke out of turn. Her uniform, a crisp, black, high-collared shirt and black trousers, was immaculate. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun that masked the true value of her last haircut, which had cost more than the monthly salary of her current position. She was observing. She watched Mr. Dubois, the general manager, a man who vibrated with anxiety, bowing to hedge fund managers and fawning over socialites. She watched Javier, the head bartender, whose hands moved like a concert pianist's as he mixed $80 cocktails, his eyes holding a deep, simmering cynicism. She watched the kitchen door, noting the 2.4-second average delay in plating appetizers. This restaurant was her latest potential acquisition, and it was failing. It was a Tuesday, typically a slow night, but the Scepter was never slow. At 8:03 p.m., the front doors swept open, and a cold gust of Frederic Malle perfume announced their arrival. Selena Covington. She wasn't just a diner, she was an event. Flanked by her two equally vapid friends, Tinsley and Brent, Selena surveyed the room, not as a guest, but as a predator. Her dress was a shimmering, silvery thing that probably had a name. Her blonde hair was so bright it looked weaponized. "Table 12, Miss Covington," Dubois murmured, already sweating. "I wanted table 7, Selena snapped, not looking at him. "The lighting is better for my content." "Table 7 is occupied by Senator Phillips, ma'am," Dubois whispered. Selena let out an exaggerated sigh. "Fine, but I want a bottle of Sassicaia decanted before I even sit down, and send over the quiet one." She pointed a finger tipped with a blood-red 3-inch nail directly at Emmy. "Not the one who smiles too much. Her teeth are yellow." Emmy felt the eyes of the staff on her. She retrieved the wine, her movements fluid. She presented the bottle, uncorked it, and began the pour into the crystal decanter. "Ugh," Tinsley muttered, already filming for her Instagram story. "Look at her uniform. Is that a stain?" Emmy froze. She knew her uniform was perfect. She had inspected it herself. Selena leaned in, her eyes wide with malicious glee. "Oh, Tins, you're right. On the cuff. How disgusting." She looked up at Emmy. "You're serving $1,000 bottle of wine, and you have— what is that? Gravy? On your sleeve?" Emmy looked down. On the very edge of her black French cuff was a tiny, minuscule speck of dried polenta, likely from clearing the previous table. It was smaller than a freckle. "My apologies, Miss Covington. It will be rectified," Emmy said, her voice a calm monotone. "Rectified?" Selena laughed, a high-pitched grating sound. You're walking around serving the most important people in New York, looking like you just crawled out of a dumpster. Do you know how unhygienic that is? I could get sick." Brent chimed in. "Seriously, Ariana, it's called a washing machine. Or can you not afford one on whatever they pay you?" The other tables were beginning to look. Mr. Dubois was hovering, his face pale. Emmy simply kept her eyes on Selena. "Will there be anything else, Ma'am?" "Yes, I want a new server," Selena declared. "And I want her," she gestured at Emmy, "to pay for this bottle of wine for insulting my appetite. It's contaminated now by her filth." "Miss Covington, that's—" Dubois started. "Are you questioning me, Dubois?" Selena's voice dropped. "I could have my father buy this entire building and turn it into a parking garage by Friday. Do you understand me? Get her out of my sight." Dubois turned to Emmy, his eyes pleading. "Ariana, please, go to the back. Just go." Emmy didn't flinch. She placed the decanter on the table, gave a short, correct bow, and walked away. As she passed the bar, Javier caught her eye, his expression pure thunder. She gave him a tiny, imperceptible shake of the head. In the staff locker room, she didn't scrub the cuff. She took out a small, leather-bound notebook from her locker and made a note. Item 1. S. Covington. Extreme liability. Creates hostile environment. Item 2. MGMT. Dubois. No spine. Sacrifices staff for high-value clients. Item 3. General operations. Compromised. She wasn't angry. She was calculating. This was data, and Selena Covington had just become a very interesting data point. A week passed. Emmy continued her shifts, her stain incident marking her as a target for Dubois, who now scrutinized her every move, desperate to appease the Covingtons. Emmy, meanwhile, had finished her initial audit. The Crimson Scepter was losing nearly $80,000 a month. It was overstaffed, its kitchen waste was astronomical, and Mr. Dubois was comping meals for influencers like Selena, who provided zero actual return. Her firm, Vanguard Equity Partners, was ready to pass. The numbers were just too bad. But Emmy wasn't finished. She had a theory about the building's lease agreement, and she needed to be on the inside to prove it. On Friday night, the restaurant was electric. Every seat was filled. Emmy was balancing a heavy tray, navigating the narrow space between the bar and the main dining floor. She was carrying 2 filet mignons and a $450 bottle of Chateau Palmer for a banking couple at table 9. She never saw Selena coming. This time, Selena was with a new group, louder and more obnoxious. She was walking back from the restroom, holding her phone aloft as she recorded a video of herself, pouting at her own reflection. "And so I told him, if it's not a Richard Mill, I'm not even—" She wasn't looking. Emmy, seeing the collision coming, tried to pivot. But Selena, deep in her own monologue, walked directly into Emmy's side. The impact was catastrophic. The tray tilted, Emmy's professional instincts kicked in, and she managed to save the plates, but the tall, elegant bottle of red wine was not so lucky. It toppled, striking the edge of Selena's table and shattering on the marble floor. A wave of dark, expensive wine washed over the floor and directly onto Selena's pristine, white, custom Alessia Ricci snakeskin boots. The music seemed to stop. The entire restaurant went silent. Selena looked down at her feet. She saw the splash of dark purple on the white leather. She saw the broken glass. Her face, which had been arranged in a flirty pout for her phone, contorted into a mask of pure, reptilian rage. "You," she whispered, her voice shaking. Emmy was already on her knees, gathering the larger pieces of glass. "My sincerest apologies, Ma'am. It was You did that on purpose," Selena shrieked, and this time the entire room was her audience. "You ruined my boots. Do you have any idea what these cost? These are one of a kind. You clumsy, stupid— Ma'am, it was an accident, Emmy said, her voice firm but low. An accident? You think I'm an idiot? Selena's phone was still in her hand. She turned it on Emmy, who was kneeling on the floor, surrounded by wine and glass. She hit record. This, Selena narrated, her voice dripping with venom, is what happens when they let incompetent children work in fine dining. Look at her. She probably can't even pay her rent, and she just destroyed $15,000 boots. Mr. Dubois was scrambling over, his face ashen. Miss Covington, please, we are so— Shut up, Dubois! You're firing her, right now. I want her fired. Of course, Dubois said, yanking Emmy to her feet by her arm. Ariana, go! You're done! You are done! Wait, Selena commanded. Not yet. She moved her phone closer to Emmy's face. Emmy looked directly into the lens, her expression unreadable. I want her to apologize, Selena said, a smirk playing on her lips. I want her to apologize for being a clumsy, useless stain on your establishment. Emmy looked at Dubois. He was trembling. Apologize, Ariana. Just do it. Emmy turned her gaze back to Selena. The phone was inches from her face. I apologize, Emmy said, her voice perfectly level, for the damage to your footwear. And? Selena prodded. And for what else? And for ruining your evening, Emmy added. And for being a worthless idiot who can't do her one simple job, Selena supplied. A flicker of something, not anger but pity, passed through Emmy's eyes. She said nothing. Say it, Selena hissed. Emmy remained silent. Her silence was louder than any shout. It was a refusal. Fine, get her out of here, Selena screamed. And I'm not paying for my meal. And you, Dubois, are paying for my boots. I'll have my assistant send you the bill. She turned, her wine-stained boots squelching, and stormed back to her table, where her friends were already howling with laughter, re-watching the video. Dubois shoved Emmy toward the kitchen. Get your things. You're fired. I don't care what your excuse is. You are finished. Emmy walked into the locker room, the sound of Selena's laughter echoing behind her. She didn't change. She simply put on her coat, picked up her bag, and walked out the back door into the alley. Javier was there, leaning against the wall, smoking a cigarette. That was something else, he said, taking a long drag. You okay, Ariana? I'm fine, Javier. He can't fire you for that. It was her fault. I saw the whole thing. It doesn't matter, Emmy said, looking up at the sliver of dirty sky between the high-rises. He already did. So what now? He asked. Emmy pulled her phone from her bag. It was not a cracked-screen iPhone. It was a military-grade, encrypted Sirin Labs device. She typed a single message to a single contact. Now? Now I buy the building. Monday morning, 9:00 a.m., the 72nd floor of 1 Vanderbilt. The offices of Vanguard Equity Partners were a testament to silent, terrifying wealth. The floors were polished Italian marble, the walls were glass, and the view was a god's-eye panorama of Manhattan. There was no art, only monitors displaying global market data in a soothing green font. A black Maybach S680 pulled into the private underground garage. A man in a simple, perfectly tailored black suit, James Thorne, her head of security, opened the door. Out stepped Emmy Vance. The waitress bun was gone, replaced by a sleek, sharp brunette bob. The black uniform was gone, replaced by a steel-grey Armani pantsuit and black Louboutin heels that made a sharp, decisive click on the marble. Her only jewelry was a Patek Philippe watch, its value roughly equivalent to the entire annual payroll of the Crimson Scepter. She was not Ariana. She was Miss Vance, the enigmatic and ruthless CEO of one of the most powerful private equity firms in the world. She didn't walk, she swept. Employees parted before her, murmuring, "Good morning, Miss Vance." She didn't acknowledge them. She was already reading pre-market reports on her tablet. She entered her corner office, which was larger than the entire Crimson Scepter dining room. Her CFO, Benjamin Shaw, was waiting for her. "Good morning, Emmy," Ben said, handing her an espresso. "You've been out of office. How was the sabbatical?" Ben was one of 3 people on Earth who knew about her undercover audits. She'd started doing them after inheriting the firm from her father, convinced their data was sterile and they'd lost touch with the ground floor of their assets. "Productive," Emmy said, taking a sip. "The Scepter is a mess. Operations are toxic, management is weak, and their prime clientele is a P&L drain. We're not acquiring the restaurant." "Good," Ben said, relieved. "The financials were a dumpster fire. So, we're done with it?" "No," Emmy said, sitting behind her massive empty desk. "I want the building, 818 Madison. Run the numbers on the shell company that owns it. The lease the Scepter has is disastrously below market rate. The real value isn't the restaurant, it's the real estate. Buy it." "The whole building? Emmy, that's a $400 million play just to—" "What? Evict a restaurant?" "To acquire a prime asset, Ben. The restaurant is just a bonus. Its lease is up in 60 days. We buy the building, we renegotiate, or we gut it and lease to a Chanel flagship. Do it." "All right, I'll get the team on it." Ben hesitated. "There's something else. A pitch I've been holding. It's high risk, but the upside is enormous. The Covington Tower." Emmy's head snapped up. "Covington?" "Yeah. Martin Covington, the real estate mogul." Ben pulled the file up on the room's main screen. A sleek, futuristic skyscraper filled the display. "It's his passion project, a new billion-dollar, mixed-use residential tower on the Hudson. It's beautiful, but he's in trouble." "Go on," Emmy said, her voice flat. "He's over-leveraged. Classic Covington. He funded the base construction by taking out bridge loans against his other properties, including the Covington Grand Hotel. But he hit a snag, union problems and a permit stall. The project is bleeding cash, and his loans are coming due. The banks, JP Morgan, Goldman, they've all shut their doors to him. He's toxic." "And he's coming to us," Emmy surmised, "the lender of last resort." "He's desperate, Emmy. He's asking for a $200 million capital injection to finish the project. In return, he's offering a 40% stake in the finished tower." 40%, Emmy mused. "He is desperate. The man doesn't give up 4% of anything." She stared at the picture of Martin Covington on the screen, a silver-haired, arrogant-looking man. Then she pictured his daughter, Selena, her face twisted in rage, filming her. "Ben," Emmy said, a slow, cold smile spreading across her face. "I'm very, very interested in the Covington portfolio. Get me everything you have on him. His debts, his liens, his personal assets. I want to know what brand of toothpaste he uses." "You got it. His daughter is handling the initial outreach. She's his new head of brand relations or some nonsense. She's been aggressive." "His daughter?" Emmy's smile widened. "Selena Covington?" "That's the one. Why?" "You know her." Emmy leaned back in her chair, looking out over the city she was about to conquer. "We've met. Set the meeting, Ben, for this Friday, and book the main boardroom. I want them to have the full view." The next few days were a blur of numbers and legal maneuvers. Emmy, back in her element, moved with terrifying speed. While her real estate division, under a proxy LLC, began the quiet, aggressive acquisition of 818 Madison, Her finance division tore apart Martin Covington's life. The report Ben Shaw delivered on Wednesday was damning. "It's worse than we thought," Ben said, his face grim. "He's not just over-leveraged, he's on the verge of default. The Covington Grand Hotel isn't just collateral for a loan, it's collateral for 3. The $200 million he's asking for isn't for construction. It's to pay the interest on his existing debt so he doesn't lose his entire empire." "He's insolvent," Emmy stated. It wasn't a question. Effectively, yes. He's been projecting strength, faking financials, moving money between shell core. It's a massive house of cards. The only thing holding him up is his name. The second one of his creditors calls his bluff. The whole thing folds. "Who holds the primary note on the Grand Hotel?" Emmy asked. "That's the interesting part. It's not a major bank. It's a small private credit fund out of Delaware. Ashwood Capital." Emmy recognized the name. "We've done business with them. They're sharks, but they're small. They're probably terrified to be holding a note this big and this toxic. They'll want out." "My thoughts exactly," Ben said. "Then buy it," Emmy ordered. "Pay them 100 cents on the dollar. I want that note in our possession before the meeting on Friday. I want to be the bank." "Emmy, that's a $150 million note. If Covington defaults, we're stuck with a hotel in a collapsing portfolio." "He will default, Ben, and we won't be stuck with a hotel. We will be stuck with his entire empire. Buy the note." "Done." Ben nodded, already typing. "One more thing. She's been calling. Selena Covington. Non-stop." "Oh, she's unpleasant. Demanding to speak to you directly. Insulting my assistant. She seems to think she's doing us a favor by letting us invest." "Put her through," Emmy said, a glint in her eye. Ben patched the call to her desk speaker. "Ms. Vance's office." "Finally. This is Selena Covington. Is this her? Is this the elusive Miss Vance?" "This is she," Emmy said, her voice like polished ice. "Good. Look, I don't know who you people at Vanguard think you are, but my father is a very busy man. This meeting on Friday, we need it to be earlier, and it needs to be at our offices. We don't travel for meetings." Emmy let the silence hang for a moment. "Ms. Covington, we are a $3 trillion asset management firm. Your father is a defaulting debtor petitioning us for a bailout. We are not investing in you. We are deciding if your assets are worth seizing." The line went quiet. Emmy could practically hear the narcissistic rage short-circuiting. How dare you?" Selena finally sputtered. "Do you know who I am?" "I do," Emmy said softly. "You're the woman who wears $15,000 Alessia Ricci boots. White snakeskin. Or, they were white, weren't they?" A sharp intake of breath on the other end. What did you say?" "Friday. 3 odd hours p.m. Our offices. If you are 1 minute late, the offer is rescinded. If you call this line again, the offer is rescinded. Your father's entire legacy depends on your ability to show up and behave professionally. I hope, for his sake, you're capable of it." Emmy disconnected the call before Selena could respond. Ben just stared at her. "What in God's name was that?" "That," Emmy said, "was due diligence." Meanwhile, back at the Crimson Scepter, Emmy's firing had sent shockwaves. Javier, assuming Ariana was now destitute, had started a collection for her among the staff. He called the number she had left him. "Hey, Ariana, it's Javi. Listen, we know what Dubois did was wrong. We collected about $600 for you to help with rent. I know it's not much, but..." Emmy, sitting in her Maybach on the way to a banking gala, was touched. "Javier, that's incredibly kind, but I can't accept it. Please give that money to Chloe. I know her son is sick. Chloe? How did you— I just know, Emmy said. Please do it for me. And Javier, thank you for being a good man. Good men are in short supply. She hung up, her resolve hardening. The scepter and Martin Covington were a cancer, but the people, Javier, Chloe, they were the assets, and she would save them. It was Friday, the day of the reckoning. Emmy had one last piece of the puzzle to move. She had arranged through the new building management, her own proxy, a mandatory emergency staff meeting for the entire Crimson Scepter team. The meeting was at 2:30 p.m. The location? A conference center on the 44th floor of 1 Vanderbilt, her building. At 1 p.m., Emmy was not in her office. She was in a small rented apartment a few blocks away. She was Oriana one last time. The waitress uniform felt like a costume, but a necessary one. She had to be absolutely 100% certain of one last thing. She walked to the Crimson Scepter, not through the back alley, but through the front door. The lunch service was in full swing. Mr. Dubois was at the host stand. When he saw her, his face went from purple to white. You, what are you doing here? I fired you. You're trespassing. I left my locker key, Mr. Dubois, Emmy said calmly. I'm just here to retrieve my belongings. There's nothing for you here. I'll have security. Daddy, is that her? Emmy's blood ran cold. She hadn't expected this. Selena Covington was at her usual table, but she wasn't with her friends. She was with her father, Martin. It was a pre-meeting power lunch. Martin looked stressed, shuffling papers, while Selena looked bored, until she saw Emmy. That's her, Daddy. That's the one I told you about. The one who assaulted me with the wine. Can you believe she's showing her face? Martin Covington looked up, annoyed by the distraction. He saw Emmy. He saw a simple waitress, a nobody, a distraction from the fact that his life was ending in 2 hours. Dubois, get her out of here, Martin snapped. We're trying to conduct business. Yes, Mr. Covington, right away. Dubois grabbed Emmy's arm. Wait, Selena said, a cruel, slow smile spreading. She was vibrating with stress from Emmy's phone call, furious at being spoken to that way. And here was a target. Here was the person she could blame. You, Selena said, standing up and walking to Emmy. You're the reason I've had a terrible week. My boots are ruined. My father is stressed. And it's all because of little, insignificant people like you who can't do their jobs. She was close now, her perfume overpowering. I had you fired. Why are you back? Are you here to beg? To plead for your disgusting little job? I'm here for my key, Emmy said, her eyes locked on Martin. He refused to make eye contact. He was embarrassed by his daughter, but more terrified of confronting her. Your key? Selena laughed. You don't deserve anything. She looked around, energized by the audience. You know, all week, I've been dealing with this other bitch on the phone. Some horrible woman named Vance. Thinks she's so important. Emmy's expression did not change. And you're just the same, Selena continued, her voice rising. You're all just help, meant to serve us, meant to be invisible. She picked up her water glass, which was full of ice water with a lime. You look warm, Ariana. You look stressed. Here, cool off. And with a flick of her wrist, she threw the entire glass of ice water directly into Emmy's face. The restaurant gasped. Ice cubes clattered to the floor. Water dripped from Emmy's hair onto her face and down the front of her black uniform. Martin Covington's head shot up. Selena! My God, not here! Oh, shut up, Daddy. She deserved it. Selena turned back to Emmy, who was standing perfectly still, water streaming from her chin. She hadn't even blinked. Now, Selena hissed, You're trespassing and you're wet. Get out of my sight. Get out of my city." Mr. Dubois, horrified, began to panic. "Security! Security! Remove this woman!" 2 large security guards, employed by the building, moved in. But Emmy just looked at Selena. She looked at her with a chilling, profound calm. Then she looked at Martin, who finally met her gaze. He saw something in her eyes that made his blood turn to ice. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was assessment. "Thank you, Miss Covington," Emmy said, her voice dripping wet but sharp as glass. "You've just clarified the final item on my agenda." She turned, not waiting for the guards, and walked out the front door, leaving a small puddle of water on the marble floor. Selena, triumphant, went back to her table. "See, Daddy, that's how you handle problems." Martin Covington just stared at the door, a knot of pure dread tightening in his stomach. He had a 3 p.m. meeting, and he suddenly had a very, very bad feeling about it. 2:30 p.m. 1 Vanderbilt, 44th floor conference center. The staff of the Crimson Scepter was assembled. They were confused, angry, and dressed in their work uniforms. "What is this?" Chloe whispered to Javier. "Why are we in a skyscraper? I'm missing my son's doctor's appointment." "I don't know," Javier muttered, scanning the room. "But look, Dubois is just as clueless as we are." The manager was pacing at the front, wringing his hands. The new building ownership said it was a mandatory meeting. Something about a transition. The doors at the front of the room opened. A man in a sharp suit, Ben Shaw, walked in, flanked by 2 lawyers. "Good afternoon," Ben said, his voice amplified by a microphone. "Thank you for coming. We are from Vanguard Equity Partners. As of 9 a.m. this morning, we are the new owners of the 818 Madison building. This meeting is to discuss the future of your employer, the Crimson Scepter." A wave of panic rippled through the room. "New owners? Are we all fired?" "Please," Ben said. "All will be explained. We have a presentation. We're just waiting for our CEO to join us. She's finishing another meeting. Please just watch the screen." A large monitor at the front of the room flickered on. It showed a live feed, but it was just an empty chair. An empty chair at the head of a massive, polished boardroom table. "What is this?" Dubois demanded. "We have a dinner service to prep for." "Your dinner service," Ben said, "is cancelled." 2:55 p.m. 1 Vanderbilt, 72nd floor lobby. Martin Covington and Selena Covington stepped out of the elevator. Martin was pale, dabbing his forehead with a handkerchief. Selena, however, was on a high from her lunchtime victory. She was scrolling through Cartier's website on her phone. "I don't like this, Sarah. That woman on the phone. Your stunt at the restaurant." "Daddy, relax," Selena said, not looking up. "You're the great Martin Covington. You're just here to pick up a check from some equity gnomes. We're in charge. Now, if I get this Panther bracelet, do you think it's tacky?" "Ms. Vance's office." "This way," a stern assistant said. They were led down the long marble hallway. The silence of the office was unnerving. They were shown into the main boardroom. The view was breathtaking, overlooking Central Park. Ben Shaw was at the table, along with 3 lawyers. "Mr. Covington, Miss Covington, thank you for coming. Please, have a seat. Miss Vance will be right with you." "She's late," Selena noted, tapping her Rolex. "On the contrary," Ben said, looking at the door. "She's right on time." The boardroom doors swept open. In walked Emmy Vance. Her wet hair was gone, replaced by the immaculate, powerful bob. Her soaked waitress uniform was gone, replaced by a deep blue Tom Ford suit that cost more than Selena's car. The Patek Philippe on her wrist gleamed. She walked to the head of the table, her Louboutins making the only sound in the room. Martin Covington didn't recognize her. He just saw power. He saw his savior. Selena, however, saw something else. Her eyes narrowed. She tilted her head. She looked from the power suit to the sharp haircut, to the face she had just thrown water on. Her own face went completely, deathly white. The blood drained from it so fast she looked like a porcelain doll. "You!" Selena breathed. Emmy ignored her, sitting down at the head of the table. She looked at Martin. "Mr. Covington, thank you for coming." Selena shot to her feet. No. What is this? What are you doing here?" She turned to Ben. "Is this a joke? Are you the secretary? Get me a coffee, a real one, and get out. The adults are talking." Ben Shaw stood. "Ms. Covington, may I present the CEO, founder, and principal owner of Vanguard Equity Partners, Ms. Emmy Vance." Martin Covington's jaw dropped. He looked at Emmy. He looked at her. And he remembered. The waitress in the restaurant. The eyes, the unnatural calm, the water dripping from her hair. "Oh my God," Martin whispered, slumping into his chair. He understood. This was not a negotiation. It was an execution. "No!" Selena shrieked, her voice cracking. "That's not... She's Ariana. The waitress. The stain. I had her fired. I just saw her. She's trash." Emmy finally turned her gaze to Selena. It was not the gaze of a waitress. It was the gaze of an owner. "You're mistaken," Emmy said, her voice echoing in the vast room. "You didn't have me fired. Mr. Dubois fired me. And since Vanguard Equity acquired the holding company that owns the Crimson Scepter 3 days ago, he was, technically, my employee." She gestured to a large screen on the wall, a screen the Covingtons hadn't noticed. It flickered to life. It was the live feed of the 44th floor conference room. It showed the entire Crimson Scepter staff, Javier, Chloe, and a horrified-looking Mr. Dubois. They were all staring at the screen, watching the boardroom meeting live. "Mr. Dubois!" Selena shrieked, pointing at the screen. On the 44th floor, Dubois saw her. He saw Emmy. He stumbled backward. "As of 2:30 p.m., Emmy continued, her voice amplified in both rooms, "Mr. Dubois' employment has been terminated, effective immediately, for gross mismanagement and creating a hostile work environment." Dubois collapsed into a chair, holding his head. Emmy turned back to the Covingtons. "Now, let's talk about your future." I don't understand," Selena stammered, sinking into her chair. You were a waitress." "I was conducting due diligence, Miss Covington," Emmy said. "I do it for all my hospitality acquisitions. I find it clarifying. It helps me understand the ground floor of the business. Who is an asset, and who is a liability?" She looked pointedly at Selena, who flinched as if struck. "Now, to business," Emmy said, turning to Martin. "Your tower." Martin was a broken man. The arrogance was gone. He was just a terrified old man in an expensive suit. "Ms. Vance, please, my daughter. She's spirited. She doesn't mean—" "Your daughter," Emmy interrupted, "is the least of your problems. Your accounting, however, is a disaster." "Ben?" Ben Shaw stood. "Mr. Covington, our audit found you are currently $280 million in default on your bridge loans. The Covington Tower project is insolvent. The Covington Grand Hotel is leveraged at 110% of its value. You are, to use the technical term, bankrupt." But the meeting, the $200 million, Martin pleaded. "The $200 million injection you asked for," Emmy said, "is no longer on the table. We are not interested in partnering with you." "Then what?" You're going to ruin us?" Selena whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "You're going to take our house, my followers, my life?" "Your life?" Emmy said, her voice dangerously quiet. "You mean the life you live by humiliating people? By filming them in their worst moments? By throwing water in a woman's face because it makes you feel powerful? That life?" Selena started to sob, thick, ugly tears. "I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were." "That," Emmy said, standing up, "is the entire problem. You shouldn't have to know who I am." She walked to the window, looking down at the city. "You were cruel, Selena. Not because I was important, but because you believed I wasn't. You step on people you think are beneath you." "You never know," she mused. "If the person you're stepping on is the one holding up the very floor you're standing on." She turned back. As of 9 a.m. this morning, Vanguard Equity purchased the $150 million senior note on the Covington Grand Hotel from Ashwood Capital. We now hold your debt. We are the bank, and your payment is due. Martin put his head in his hands. "It's over. It's all over." "No," Emmy said. "Not quite. I'm not a destroyer, Mr. Covington. I'm a builder, but I'm restructuring." She laid out the terms. They were brutal. "Vanguard Equity will assume 90% controlling interest in the new Vanguard Tower, effective immediately. We will finance its completion. We will manage its operations. Your name will be removed from the project." 90%, Martin gasped. "You will retain 10%, Emmy continued. "Not you, personally. A trust for your family. It's more than you deserve. Your personal assets will be liquidated to cover your immediate debts. You, Martin, will be removed from the board. You will be given a small consulting fee for 1 year to ensure a smooth transition. And then you're retired." Martin was silent. He was ruined, but he wasn't destitute. He was saved. He nodded, unable to speak. "We accept," he whispered. "Thank you, Miss Vance." "I'm not finished," Emmy said, turning her icy gaze to the sobbing socialite. "There's the matter of you." Selena was no longer a person. She was a hollowed-out shell, a porcelain doll dropped on a marble floor. The words, "your boss," echoed in the vast, silent boardroom, ricocheting off the glass and steel, each repetition striking her with the force of a physical blow. She was on her knees, her custom-designed Balenciaga suit pooling around her, her $200 manicure digging into her own palms. "No," she whispered, the word a dry, pathetic rasp. "No, you can't." She looked up, her eyes, wide with a terror so profound it had burned past tears, fixed on Emmy. "Please, Miss Vance. Emmy, I'll do anything. I'll give you my trust fund. I'll give you my car. My followers. I have 3.4 million followers on Instagram. I'll tell them you're brilliant. I'll promote Vanguard. I'll say this was all a performance, a test. Please." She was bargaining, throwing everything she had ever valued onto the pyre. "My bracelet. Take it." She fumbled with the clasp of her Cartier love bracelet, the one her father had given her, the one she'd flashed in hundreds of photos. "It's 50,000 or take it. Take my watch. Just don't do this. Don't make me that." Martin Covington, who had been sitting as if his spine had been pulverized, finally spoke. His voice was a reedy, broken thing. "Miss Vance, Emmy, please." He stood, his legs shaking. She's my daughter. She's just a child. She's been spoiled. Terribly spoiled. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Punish me. Take the 10%. Take everything. Leave us with nothing. But her, she's not built for this. It will destroy her. Please, I am begging you, don't do this to my child. Emmy let the desperate pleas hang in the air. She looked at Martin, her face unreadable. Built for what, Mr. Covington? She asked, her voice soft, which made it all the more terrifying. Built for work, for consequences, for life. You built $1 billion empire, but you failed to build a human being. You raised a predator, and you are both responsible. You, for shielding her from the world, and she, for gleefully attacking it. She then turned her full, undivided attention to the weeping woman on the floor. She took a step closer, her Louboutin heels clicking with terrifying finality. You want to pay me? Emmy crouched slightly, bringing herself closer to Selena's level, though the power imbalance was now an unbridgeable chasm. With a bracelet? You think the damage you inflict, the humiliation you trade in, can be settled with a transaction? You think this is about money? She shook her head, a slow, pitying motion. You said you were sorry. You said you didn't know who I was. She stood up. That is the most honest and the most damning thing you have ever said. You are apologizing because the ant you stepped on turned out to be a dragon. You're not sorry for the act, Selena. You are sorry for the target. You're not sorry you filmed a waitress in her moment of humiliation. You're sorry you filmed me. You're not sorry you threw water in a woman's face. You're sorry you threw it in mine. Your apology, Emmy declared, her voice ringing with the clarity of a judge's gavel, is worthless. It's a currency you're trying to use to escape a bad situation. It's as hollow and fraudulent as the financials your father submitted to my office. It is, therefore, rejected. I am not sending you to jail, Emmy continued, walking back toward her desk. That would be an escape. Prison is structured. You would still be Selena Covington, the fallen socialite. You'd have a new story, a new identity. You'd have notoriety. No, I am not interested in punishing you. I am interested in unmaking you. I am going to re-educate you. I am going to teach you, in the most literal way possible, the lesson you have refused to learn your entire life. I am giving you a job. A job? Selena hiccuped, a bizarre, hysterical flicker of hope in her eyes. Like an internship. At Vanguard. I'm good at marketing. My brand. I can rebuild. Emmy's laugh was not a laugh. It was a cold, sharp puff of air. Your brand. You have no brand. You have no skills. You have no value. You are, as you so clearly put it just 2 hours ago, trash. You are a liability, and a liability must be processed. You are not qualified to speak to my clients. You are not qualified to write a memo. You are not even qualified to fold napkins. As you so helpfully pointed out, my own cuff was stained. No, you will start at the only place that fits your current value, the absolute, literal bottom. She pressed the intercom on her desk. James, please send in Mr. Fernandez. The side door to the boardroom opened, the one that connected to the conference center where the staff was still assembled. Javier walked in. He was no longer in his bartender's vest, but in his street clothes, a simple jacket and jeans. He looked confused, and then he saw Emmy. He looked at her. Really looked at her. The suit, the hair, the desk, the power. His mind connected Ariana to the name on the building directory. Vanguard. Ariana? He breathed, his voice full of disbelief and awe. What is... Hello, Javier, Emmy said, and her voice finally, for the first time, warmed with genuine respect. Or I suppose Miss Vance is more appropriate now. Thank you for coming in. I apologize for the deception. I needed to see the truth of the Crimson Scepter. And I did. Javier was reeling. I don't understand. The collection, Chloe's son. I called you. Chloe's son's medical bills for the next 5 years have been anonymously paid for by a Vanguard charity fund as of 1 hour ago, Emmy said simply. And your collection, the $600 you all pulled together for a fired co-worker you barely knew, that told me everything I needed to know about you. While others were busy being liabilities, you were being an asset. She turned back to the Covingtons. Martin, Selena, this is Javier Fernandez. He was the head bartender at the Scepter. As of my previous announcement to the staff, he is the new general manager of the restaurant, which will be rebranded and relaunched. Selena's face twisted in disgust, even through her terror. The bartender? You're making the bartender your boss, Emmy supplied, her voice going cold again. Javier is everything you are not. He's decent. He's hard-working. He noticed other people's pain. While you were filming your humiliation, he was trying to help. He is an asset. You are a liability. So he will be in charge, and you will report to him. Now, Emmy said, pulling a single sheet of paper from a drawer. Let's be very clear about your new life, Selena, the terms of your employment. She looked at Martin. Your father's 10% stake in the Vanguard Tower. That's your leash. It's the last dollar your family will ever have. It's what pays for your father's retirement, his continued existence, and it is entirely, 100%, conditional on your performance. She looked at Selena. Your start date is Monday. Your shift begins at 6:08 a.m., not 6:01, not 6:05, 6.00. You will not arrive in your Maserati, you will sell it. In fact, you will sell all your cars. You will take the subway, the 6 train from 68th Street. You will learn what it's like to be pressed against 100 other people, to smell their coffee and their sweat, to be invisible in a crowd, truly invisible. Not, look at me, invisible. You will not be a waitress, Emmy continued, her voice a merciless monotone. You don't have the poise, you don't have the humility, you don't have the people skills. You will be assigned to the dish pit and kitchen prep. I want you to imagine this, Emmy said, leaning forward. Your hands, the ones with the $200 gel manicures. I want you to imagine them plunged into 140-degree, industrial-strength sanitizing water, scrubbing coagulated béarnaise sauce, and dried-on lipstick from 300 plates. I want you to feel the steam in your face, the constant, deafening roar of the machine, the smell of old food and wet garbage that will never, ever leave your clothes. When you're not in the pit, you'll be in prep. You will not be creating. You will be processing. You will peel 50-pound bags of potatoes until your knuckles bleed. You will devein shrimp until your fingers are raw and smell of brine. You will cry, and the salt from your tears will sting the dozens of tiny cuts on your hands, and no one will care. They will tell you to work faster. You will clean the grease traps, Selena. Once a week, you will get on your hands and knees and scoop out the congealed, rancid fat that is the byproduct of the fine dining you love so much. You will smell it. It will get in your hair, and you will go home on that 6 train smelling of it, and the other passengers will move away from you. You will be the contamination. Selena was making a small, choking sound, hyperventilating. Your uniform will be a pair of black, non-slip kitchen clogs, a short-sleeve cook's shirt, a heavy rubber apron, and yes, a hairnet. No makeup, no jewelry. Your nails will be cut to the quick. You will be a worker. You will refer to Javier as Manager Fernandez or Sir. You will refer to the line cooks as chef. You will refer to the wait staff, the Chloes of the world, as ma'am and sir. You will be the lowest thing in the building. You will be the stain. You will do this, Emmy commanded, for 6 months, 40 hours a week. No sick days unless you have a doctor's note from a public clinic, not a private physician. If you are late once, your family loses 1% of its stake. If you are rude to a fellow employee, if you so much as roll your eyes at an order, you lose 5%. If you quit, if you film 1 second of this, if you post one cryptic, "Why is this happening to me?" a message on your Instagram, you lose everything. The 10% stake is forfeit. Your father is on the street. Your family name is officially and permanently mud. Am I clear? Selena, a puddle of designer fabric and ruined makeup, could only nod, her entire body shaking. "Martin," Emmy said, "you will not interfere. You will not call. You will not check in on her. You will let this happen. This is your only path to saving the last scrap of your name. This is her only path to becoming a person." Emmy turned to Javier, who had been watching this entire thing with a mix of righteous terror and stunned awe. "Javier, Manager Fernandez," she said, her voice softening again. "I am sorry to put this on you, but you are the only one I trust to be fair. She is your employee. You will treat her exactly as you would any other new hire in the dish pit. No better and no worse. She gets 1 warning, then she's your problem to fire, and you know the consequences if you do. Can you handle that?" Javier looked at Selena, who was weeping on the floor. He looked at Emmy, the woman he'd tried to give rent money to, who now owned the city. He thought of Chloe. He thought of his co-workers. He straightened his spine. The bartender was gone. The manager was here. "Yes, Miss Vance," he said, his voice firm. "I can." "Good," Emmy said. "Then your new employee will be ready on Monday. You can escort the Covingtons to the elevator. I believe your meeting is over." Emmy gathered her papers into a leather folio, her movements crisp and finished. She walked to the door, past the broken family. She paused, her hand on the handle, and looked back one last time. "Oh, and Selena." Selena looked up, her face a streaked, ruined mess. "Yes?" "A small piece of advice, from one help to another," Emmy said. "When you're cleaning the front of house glass after service, I prefer Windex on the glass. It leaves a streak-free shine. You wouldn't want to contaminate the guest experience, would you?" Emmy Vance smiled, just once. A smile of pure, finished business. And then she was gone. The click, click, click of her heels faded down the marble hall, leaving Selena Covington alone on the floor at the feet of her new boss. In the end, Selena Covington learned that life's cruelest twist isn't losing your money, it's being forced to earn it. She traded her Louboutins for non-slip kitchen clogs and her designer dresses for a bleach-stained apron. The question is, did she learn her lesson? Karma, as we've seen, doesn't always come in the form you expect. Sometimes it comes in a Tom Ford suit, holding the deed to your entire life. What did you think of Emmy's ultimate revenge? Was it justice, or was it just business? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this story of karma and consequences, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to see it. And please subscribe to the channel for more stories where the entitled finally get what they deserve.